Train 262 Heavy, wind calm, runway 31 left, clear for takeoff, caution wake turbulence, previous departure, Heavy 777.
Welcome aboard and welcome to Miami, Florida. Why are we in Miami, Florida? Flying our 747-100. Well, we're here because we're running Pan Am livery, and Pan Am really made Miami. We're here flying Clipper, what did you say? It's the Clipper Pride of the Sea. Pan Am not only made Miami, but made Boeing in large part. The reason for the 747 was one trip and Pan Am. It is the reason for the Boeing 747. Pan Am is the reason for the Boeing 314 Clipper. It is the reason for a lot of the sea-based aircraft going into World War II. It was all Pan Am. Alright, so we're here aboard our 747-100. I chose 747-100 because people were telling me, oh, fly 747, fly 747. And some people were saying, fly 747-400. Well, why? They're right there on the screen because they're part of the game. But instead I got a 100. The downside, no virtual cockpit. I thought it had one, but I misread the notes on it. We're going to go ahead and rock and roll with it despite not having a virtual cockpit. It does have these simple gauges, which is the stock 747-400 cockpit. So we'll get to that in a minute. So 747-100, what's so big and great about it? Well, one, it's big. It is the first wide body ever produced. And you think about that and you're like, no, that's not true, but it is. Prior to this, 707 and DC-8 were both single aisle aircraft. 727 is single aisle, 737 is single aisle, DC-9 was single aisle. All of the aircraft that were manufactured in Europe at the time were single aisle aircraft. This was the first double aisle aircraft, the first real wide body. We all know her nickname as Jumbo Jet. Her other nickname, some people know, Queen of the Skies. Now, interestingly about this aircraft, the hump. Now, the hump is there for a couple of reasons. First, when Pan Am went to Boeing and said, we want a new airplane, they went to Boeing specifically saying, we want a new airplane that is double the size of the 707. Because there was a lot of airport congestion, kind of like today. But unlike today, where airlines are jamming more regional jets in, Pan Am said, we want a bigger plane to try to ease off the congestion. Boeing, however, was busy working on the SST, the supersonic transport. Boeing did not think this aircraft would last that long as a passenger aircraft. It was believed that supersonic aircraft were going to completely get rid of all subsonic passenger aircraft. Oh, that they would have. So Boeing designed this both to meet Pan Am's requirement and to be a freighter because they believed that freighters were where the money was. So if you put the cockpit up here, you can make the nose open up and you can get more stuff in there. Additionally, the size of the aircraft and the shape of the aircraft was to fit containerized cargo because that's what they were looking at. Now the hump, originally it was extended all the way back. And then they realized that that just wasn't going to work. Evacuation was a problem at the time. Now, of course, the A380 has overcome that, but at the time it was believed to be a problem. But they still wanted that cockpit up above the main cabin floor, so they created this hump here. Now that hump, today on a 747-400, that hump is more passenger seating. But if you go to Musée de l'Air et l'Espèce at the Bonnier in France and board the Air France 747-123 that's on the tarmac, and you go upstairs, it's a lounge. And that's what it originally was. It was originally a lounge. You go up there, hang out, you know, chill. Boeing expected this aircraft to be obsolete after 400 were built. As of September 2012, 1,448 were built and 81 747-8Is were on order. Alright, we're going to take off here in a second. Let's get our cockpit sorted. There we go. Okay. Brakes off. Let's get some flaps out, because we're going to need those. There they come. Interestingly, there was a pilot who saw these coming down, and he's like, you don't deploy the flaps, you disassemble the entire wing, because it has a huge amount of flap space to allow it to land at speeds equivalent to the 707, because that's allowed them to use runways that the 707 used once they were strengthened for the weight of this aircraft. Alright, we got flaps down. Okay, everybody ready? Let's wind up our 4. Now this is a 100, so this would probably have run 4 Rolls-Royce RB211-524B2s, producing 50,000 pounds of thrust each. You could also get them. They could also be purchased with Pratt & Whitney JT90-7A, 7F, or 7J engines, depending on the year, producing 46,500 pounds of thrust each. Okay, engines are up. Oh, let's go to this. Oh, there we go. And we can rotate. Here we go. Come on, baby. Come on. Wheels are up. Oh, look at the bogies kick forward. There we go. Go ahead and start retracting the flaps a little bit. Fully retracted. Look at her. Beautiful Pan Am bird. Yeah. Very nice. So the 747-100. Let's get back inside so I don't overspeed her like I'm doing right now. Come on, baby. Stop that. Slow down a little bit. She had a 6,100 mile range with a 555 mile per hour cruise speed. In fact, today the 747-400 is the world's fastest subsonic passenger aircraft. She could carry, the 100 model here, could carry 366 passengers in a 3-class configuration. So, now I'm not sure how I'm going to get around to Miami again, but we're going to try. Now, some interesting information. High-speed flutter tests showed severe high-speed fluttering on the aircraft. Now, in order to fix that, they had to weight the outboard engine nacelles. And they decided to weight the engine nacelles with depleted uranium, which actually caused an issue when a couple of them crashed. These aircraft carried 65 kilograms of depleted uranium on them. I mean, not necessarily something you want to crash in your backyard. Now, of course, the main difference between the 100, the 200, 300, 400, and 8i each is lengthening of the frame itself and lengthening of the iconic hump. Now, of course, there was a special model built. That special model was the 747 SP, the Super Performance. It was a shortened 747-100 with uprated engines, and it was capable of well over 7,000 miles. It was built for Pan Am, and Pan Am I'm not sure about. It might have been Eastern, but definitely for Iranian Air, because Iran wanted to fly Tehran to New York, and the 747-100 could not do it. Alright, so while I try to get this big, giant monster bird sorted, we're going to kind of come around. Alright, so shift 2, radio stack, 3, ooh, GPS. I actually need that. Alright, let's kind of go this way. I think I'm going to line up for that long runway there. I'm going to keep that up. Shift 4, there's my throttle quadrant, and 5 turns off my upper, 6 gets me a chronometer, And that is the end of that. Alright, so we're back covering the same thing that at least 2 commenters have said. No virtual cockpit is kind of boo. And I understand that. I totally understand that. The thing is, I could not find a 747 from Project Open Sky that had a virtual cockpit. That wasn't a reskin of a 747-400, because I don't care about a 747-400. Why do I have a warning? I'm going way fast. Alright, there we go. Get that thing slowed down. Oh, there's K Miami. Alright, so I was aiming at the wrong airport. How about that? Alright, we're going to go in for a landing somewhere. I think that this runway's big enough for... Oh, I guess we should go back to Miami. Let's bring a little bit of throttle up. I'm gonna move the GPS onto the other screen so that it doesn't get in the way of everything else we're doing. Now I noticed some other views on the aircraft, so while I am flying sort of a weird approach pattern here, let's see if I can level her out a little bit so that we're not sending too bad. Alright. What do we have? Overwings. Ooh, business class left. Look at that. Look at the rotors. Okay, we're running Pratt & Whitney's. So it would be JT9D, probably -7As on here. What do we have? Economy class. Can we look inside the airplane? No, we cannot. Alright. Let's go back to the cockpit because I have a feeling we're going in the downward direction. We are. Let's get some flap out. Okay, let's not. Why are we going so fast? I've got the thing throttled, like no joke, throttled way back, and it just will not behave. Okay, we need some flap. Alright, I'm going to kind of come in on a hard landing here. For reasons of, that's how I land. Alright. Come around to what, 135, I think, is about where this runway is. There it is. Okay, I was pretty darn close. Okay, we're gonna go in for our landing. Let's see, will those wheels come out? Am I going too fast? I'm probably going too fast. Deploy some air brake. Slow down. 240. There's the wheels. Goes back in. Look at that. There's not very many 100s left flying. Most of them are gone. There are a few, I believe, still out there. They'd all be in freight configuration, of course, because we are we're into the 400 and the 8i.
Don't sink.
Quit telling me not to sink. I will land the way I want to land.
Don't sink. Don't sink.
Where am I going?
Don't sink.
There. Okay.
Don't sink. Don't sink.
Quit telling me not to sink. I'm fine. Sort of. And, I mean, this is really back in the time that the Avalon Dash 8's going to be coming the other direction. Really?
Dude, don't sink.
Alright.
Don't sink.
We're gonna try something that should never be done in an aircraft. This big, this close to landing. Alright, we got flaps all the way down, gear down. He's going for that runway. So guess what I'm going to do? Change my mind at the last second. We're going to go to this runway over here, to my left.
Sink rate.
Be quiet.
Sink rate. Pull up.
Alright, throttle this guy
Pull
up.
up. Don't sink. Sink rate.
So much screaming at me about sink rates.
Sink rate. Sink rate.
Can I make this turn?
Don't sink. Don't sink.
Oh, we're gonna crash. Okay, honestly, how many of you were like, you massive idiot for trying to make that turn? What can I say? I tried anyway. So, what do we think? I wish it had a virtual cockpit. With a virtual cockpit, it would be perfect. If we could get the 400 cockpit on it even, I would give it an okay pass. But it really needs old steam gauges. It needs to be a steam gauge cockpit. This is not a 100. Again, having been in the Air France 747-123 that's at Le Bonnier, there is no LCD panels. It's also a three-man cockpit. Yeah, it's a three-man cockpit. They have a flight engineer on board. So, I mean, there's things missing I wish they'd add on to here. But if you're looking for an old 747, hey, you can't really go too wrong with this one. I just can't fly it. So there you go. That is the opening the doors for reasons of, I feel like it. Oh, look at the door. So there you go. This has been Captain DerTebbers crashing a Pan Am 747-100 because I'm impatient. Till next time. Bye.
Clear for takeoff 31 left, joining in 26.